So good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting me today. For 3 decades, Europe believed in what we called happy globalization. I don't know if you are familiar with this expression, but unfortunately for us, this era is over, and Europe must now face the consequences of this end. But this is not inevitable, because the future depends on the industrial choices that we are going to make today. And this is why I'm precisely here today. The globalization model that emerged in the 90s was designed to optimize flows. In the result, we got growth, we got efficiency, and we got also lower cost. But it also led Europe progressively outsources its value chain, its industrial capacities abroad. But the problem is that this industrial supply chain and capacities that we do not have anymore on our soil, that we outsourced, are necessary for current economy. I'm talking about electrification of transportation, digitalization, and also decarbonization of our systems. Today, China alone manufactures 80% of the world's solar panel, and it controls nearly 90% of the value chain. As a result, Europe, we need now to buy at a high price material, components, but also technology that we can no longer produce on our soil, or not enough sufficiently for demand. In 2011, China put an embargo on rare earth exports. That was a warning signal. Since then, China continued to strengthen its position, while Europe and the US, we were just starting to understand that yet we are very dependent from China mainly, and that we are becoming vulnerable. But thanks to some politicians, we started to react, and we had some major initiatives, such as the Critical Raw Material Act, that some of you may know, the Net Zero Industry Act, but also the European Batteries Regulations and some others. These are important steps, because it means that yet we started to understand that there is a problem and that we need to be more autonomous. But the problem, this step is important, but it's not enough, because we still have 2 main challenges. First, we lost 2 decades from the 19th to now. So if you want to reindustrialize 2 decades of supply chain, it takes time. Secondly, Europe's response to this dependency mainly focus on rebuilding production capacity. This is necessary, but it's not sufficient, because Europe is overlooking something, the largest resource reservoir that is available on its soil. It's within the products, the materials, and the equipment that we already produced, that is all around us within our economy. This is where the Reuse Economy comes in. The Reuse Economy offers a pathway to sovereignty, because it seeks to secure, to maintain, and to maximize the value of what we already produced. According to the International Agency of Energy, global demand for critical minerals shall be multiplied by 6 by 2050. And you can be sure that we do not have these critical minerals under our soil, beneath us. So we must find them above the ground, in the equipment that we use, in the buildings that are around us, but also in the materials that already circulate in our economy. The challenge now, if we understand that, is to organize, preserve, and reactivate the value over time. This is what we propose, and this is what is the ambition of the reuse economy. And its structure over 3 complementary pillars. The first one is when you create something that is a building, a phone, or a machine, we need, in the first place, to design the product so it can last for multiple cycles, not only for one use. So it implies standardization, the fact that we can dismantle it so it can be repaired. The second pillar is that we need to organize. So this is talking about supply chain, circularized supply chain, logistics, flows, organize the return and the circulation of the products, because once it has a problem, we do not throw it away. We just bring it back in the economy, and so we will be able to achieve the first one. It's all the kind of operations that we can call reuse, repair, remanufacturing, refurbishment, you know, all those R's. In the 10 R's, actually we're talking about from R1 to R9, just before recycling, just before that the product become a waste. And then all this economy has to be traceable, traceability. Digital product passport is really one of the key, because it will enable us to see how many rounds, circles, and which spare part has been replaced, where, etc. This will be really a key tool for us. Now that we understand that and we designed the system to organize, we need to scale, because reuse is not only for one industry, it's for many industries, and especially strategic sectors like batteries, electronics, and industrial equipments. For that, we designed 10 key levers that can be applied to all sectors. The first one is to change the mindset. The mindset that we all have that only relies on relocating production or recycling needs to change, because if we change that, then we change the law, we change also the softwares, the purchasing system, the way we design the products, the way we design the advertisement, etc. Everything relies on this first lever. If you take the example, for example, of batteries, Europe set an ambitious target. They want that we produce a significant share, like 40%, of our battery demand within Europe. This is good, but this will not be enough. Here again, the text missed this point of the reuse economy. They only think that we can be independent only by producing more and more. We must extend also battery life, develop second life applications, improve repairability, and create industrial reuse ecosystems. This is what we designed those 10 key levers. And this transformation, if we looked at the history, requires something else. This is why we are all here today. A strong alliance between the public and the private sectors. History shows that major industrial transformation never happened by accident. It was not only in the public sector or not only the private sector, it was both together. And China proves this today, because the industrial development that they did since the 19th, it's driven by a strong alignment between public strategy and private sector that executes the strategy. In Europe, we had some successes. Take Airbus. France and Germany, they created this champion, and then it started with a political ambition, a shared vision, and then all the private sector took this industry, and it is a champion right away. a willingness also to share the risk between private and public sector. The reuse economy requires the same level of ambition, because what it takes is not only environmental performance. See, I didn't show you the impact, the environmental impact in my speech, because you already know why we are doing that. I wanted to show you the economic part of it. Reuse economy takes industrial competitiveness, economic resilience, strategic autonomy, and Europe's ability to remain prosperous in a world where uncertainty is growing more and more. The good news is, and a lot of you were with me 2 weeks ago, is that this transition is already underway. Across Europe, in Portugal, in France, in Germany, in UK, companies are developing new business models. Industries are creating new value chains, and governments, like in France and also Europe, are beginning to recognize that reuse, repair, refurbishment, and remanufacturing are not marginal activities. They can become strategic economic activities. A new industrial economy is emerging. So let me conclude with a simple thought. Europe may not possess all the critical resources it needs beneath its soil, but it already possesses many of them above ground, in our buildings, in our equipments, in our products, in our infrastructure. The question is no longer whether we can afford to develop the reuse economy, but whether can we afford not to? So, when do we start? Thank you very much.